But here now, witness ISIS as you never have before, live, in battle, taking fire and getting hit. A remarkable viewpoint coming from CNN crews positioned in Turkey near the Syrian border in a town called Karaka. A warning for you, though, that what you're about to see is dramatic war violence, including a man apparently getting shot about 13 seconds into this video that we're about to show you. The voices you'll hear, our Phil Black, at the border, speaking to CNN's John Berman just a few hours ago.
CNN photojournalist Claudia Otto saw some of those ISIS fighters take casualties on the top of that hill. Still seeking shelter there, trying to use that territory to their advantage and protect themselves from incoming fire from their Kurdish opponents. As I speak, there is small arms fire being traded. I'm not sure if you can hear it over our microphones, but that's what's been going on really for the last few hours. And in addition to that, we've been hearing a lot of heavy artillery fire as well. Mortars. One sailed in and struck not far from that ISIS position only about 10 minutes ago or so. Dusk is falling now. It's getting a little bit harder to make out precisely what's going on at that distance. I apologize for that. And the fighting itself appears to be slowing as well. But as it stands at the moment, those ISIS fighters on the top of that ridge appear to have been stopped, or at the very least their advance slowed down at that location by the fighting of their Kurdish opponents. Now, the thing that I think is quite striking, watching those ISIS fighters, I'm just being told, sorry John, that one of those fighters at the top of the hill was just injured. They've just taken casualties at the top of that hill. What I started to touch on earlier, what I think is quite striking as you see those fighters out in the open on the top of that ridge there, is that they are being they are not being interfered with at all by any form of air power. And that's really a crucial point that the fighters on the ground have made to us, and indeed the many refugees that we've been talking to crossing into Turkey in recent days. They've all been asking the question, where is this coalition air fire that is striking ISIS positions elsewhere in Syria, elsewhere in Iraq, we are told, but not here on the ground, where ISIS is still advancing, still trying to claim new territory, where refugees tell us they have still been killing innocent civilians in villages that they come to and take control of. So that is the scene here, an extraordinary scene as dusk is falling here on the Syrian border. ISIS fighters in action. We just saw tracer fire move across the skyline there. Something of an ooh and an ah from the crowd here. This crowd of Turkish Kurds, when they've seen a lot of incoming fire going into that ISIS position, they've been cheering their Kurdish brothers on the other side. So what is clear, as I say, dusk is falling, but John, the fight is very much continuing.
Phil, stick with me if you can. Please be as careful as you need to be in this situation, because we have seen what I believe to be tracers or some kind of fire going by on the picture in front of us, as well as we can hear the gunfire. This really raises several important issues all at once. As you say, it shows the enormous range that these ISIS fighters are operating in across Syria and across Iraq as well. It shows I believe we're not hearing cheering as the battle is being taken to ISIS right now. I think the people where Phil is, these refugees who've been driven out by ISIS, the human toll.
The ISIS's reputation has sent a shockwave of fear through the Kurdish villages and towns in this region. That is what triggered an enormous refugee exodus into Turkey over the last week. Estimates put it at somewhere close to 200,000 people moving into Turkey in just a few days, literally picking up whatever they can carry, moving through the dusty landscape, and then queuing to move across the border to safety and security and to what you have to say is an uncertain future in refugee camps. What they have left behind is a small fighting force of Kurdish fighters who say they are armed and prepared to fight very hard to try and slow down this advance. And they say they have managed to do that successfully to some degree. But they have been reporting to us each day that ISIS has been making progress. A few more miles each day. Now, just take a look up on that ridgeline now. What you are seeing is tracer fire moving into that ridgeline that is currently occupied by ISIS forces. And around me, the Kurdish crowd is cheering. Take a listen. Now, John, it is getting quite dark here, so increasingly difficult to make out the actual figures on the ridgeline itself. But we can see from that tracer fire that they are still receiving incoming fire. And it is at that position that our photojournalist Claudia Otto has seen ISIS fighters take casualties.
Fascinating to watch. Up next, we're going to take you live to that border to see where those fighters are going, and I'll speak with the man who watched that firefight just from yards away. There he is, CNN's Phil Black. That's next.